everybody, it's Peg with bits and pieces from my artistic life. Some of you know that I have been spending time doing some cleaning, and part of cleaning means that when you do something, you need to reward yourself. Well, I had gotten some pan pastels, and I'll tell you more about them, but I hadn't played with them. I've been collecting them for probably over a 2-year period. And the reason I say collecting is because I haven't really worked with them a lot. So I followed instructions and I got this huge bottle of acrylic ground for pastel. And I thought, well, do I need to put this down before I go to paper? Is this only for canvas? So I'm experimenting because, you know, that's me, the chemist in me. I keep trying things to see how it turns out. Well, I put some on some cardstock, which you can see here, and I don't like the results because if it's not perfectly smooth, what you see are all those little bitty lines where that surface was applied. It didn't absorb into this particular cardstock. So I would say that you need something that's very absorbent, that's going to accept that grounding and soak it up so that you don't get this kind of thing going on. I was going to try it on some vellum. This is a very smooth surface, so I wasn't sure what I'd get if I put it onto some vellum. And this has the medium on there, and yes, once again, I can see those lines starting to pop up. Maybe the blue will show you a little bit more. One thing you want to have when you're working with this is something to clean your sponge off with. These are very easy to clean just by wiping them off, but I do like to keep them for family groups of colors. So let's try a little bit. Yeah, the blue is going to show you a lot more about what I'm talking about. You see how that just is an uneven surface because of that ground there. So I'm not real happy with that. This, however, oops, of course I got some on there. Now the nice thing about it, until it is sealed, you can't erase it. So I will take an eraser and clean that off of there. But you can see you get a nice smooth finish with this, so that when I go in to make a card, it's going to look really pretty behind that image. Okay, the reason I'm working with these particular colors is over on Tailored Expressions. They're running a challenge right now, and the challenge is this. It says it's a sketch and color challenge, so you can do either the sketch or the color or both to do something for this challenge. So I'm working with some Tailored Expressions dies and this color palette, which I chose. There's a gray, there's a green, there's a what they call potato chip, and a blue. So I chose these pan pastels based on the color palette that I was given on their challenge site. Now, what I was working with was a piece of cardstock, and like I say, you have to be really clean with this stuff because it does go everywhere, and so you will be doing a lot of erasures if you're not careful about what you're doing. Okay, so what I was thinking was I wanted to create an area, and hopefully I'm getting this on here straight. I can kind of see through there, and I can trim it down later if I want to. And this is that Post-it removable label tape. Works really nicely for masking. And let's see where we are with this one. I want to come up here a little bit more. So I'm masking those areas off to keep them clean. And then what I want to do is come in with my pan pastels. Probably should have oriented it going the other way, shouldn't I? Why Why, yes, Peg, that would have been a really good idea. Okay, we'll do it now. Nice thing about this repositionable tape, it does reposition very well. So you can see this is going to flow on here beautifully. It just takes a touch. And we'll pick up some blue. And I'm going to clean before I go back and pick up more because I'm working over that gray. That I'm getting. There we go. Just see it's blending quite nicely. And, you know, blow away the excess dust if you need to. Okay, I'm going to go into that buttery color now and come down the middle. And then pick up this greeny apple color. And just touch here. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So now we have a nice band of color down the middle of our card. Okay, and then I could take an image, one of these that's die cut, and maybe another die cut, and I can play with this and create another card like I was doing here with Tailored Expressions. And I do recommend them. They are an Iowa-based company, which makes me happy because, you know, I love to support Iowa companies. So these are things that I picked up at Stamp Joy last year. They are running this again in October if you're in the area and want to attend a really cool event. They have lovely stamps and dies, very fun things. Here's the birch tree border that I was using. Here's another one that I think is really elegant. This is a seasonal tree, so if you put that onto something like this, you can see how gorgeous that is. Okay, so I'll talk to you more about the pan pastels in a minute. Okay, we're back and let's talk pan pastel. Well, one of the reasons I say I've been collecting is because, as you can see, the palettes, now they don't come in these trays unless you buy them in a set that comes in a tray. And I like this because I can store them. It has a lid. I can put them out and have them in colored groups in the families so that I can have the color, the shade, and the tint all together in one place, so that when I'm trying to create something, here I've laid down, I started just putting down the main color, and then I used the shade here and I used the tint here, and then I came in with a little bit of white to soften that up and a little bit of black to see what effect that had on it. I also find it's real easy to use these tools. These are little sponge tools. You can draw with these. You can shade with these, so I can come in and add shading to the piece that I'm working on. And these do a really good job. Plus, the cleanup, like I said, is just coming over on your rag or your towel or whatever and wiping these off. I do recommend, what I have done here is I have started a box so that I'm going to be able to keep my colors separate, so that I will have my greens and my blues and my violets and my reds separate in here, because you don't want to mix your yellow with, you know, your purple and end up with brown or something like that. So that's what I'm doing. I had to actually cut a piece out here so that these tools will fit in here. You can also get these little like makeup sponge things, they work too, but I really like these sponges that are made to go with the pan pastels. Now, these little sponges come in a package of 4, and so you can buy replacement sponges. You just keep the handles and replace the sponges on the tip. One of the things I don't like about it is there's nothing visible here that tells me what color it is I'm using. So I'm going to have to devise some way of labeling them. Now, this is a flyer literature, and it lists all of the colors. I think there are 80 colors currently. I do not have all 80. I don't know if I will ever need all 80. I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50, because as I found out, you know, when you go shopping, you don't always find what you're looking for. I picked up a few just to try them. I liked them, and then I thought, well, you know, what am I going to need? Well, I found out that if I'm doing the things that I want to do, which is, you know, your shading and your different effects with it, well, yes, you are going to need colors that are within the same family. And I might have this color here and that color there and that color there, but I didn't have the rest of it to fill in. So these trays are made so that there's 2 dark shades, the color and the tint. Well, I don't have all of the dark shades because there's 2 dark shades. So I thought, well, if I get the dark shade, the color, and the tint on most of the ones that I have, which is what you see here, then I'll be pretty happy with my collection. Now, I will tell you that these are very delicate. You do not want to carry them around. You can see some of mine are damaged already. This happened in shipping just because they don't like being shaken or stirred. And so I've got a couple of these that are really not in the best shape already because they crumbled. Now, I think if you keep it in the container, you're not going to have those kinds of issues. Now, I can still use this. You know, there's powder in here. I can still use this, but most of that stuff crumbled away. So, if you want it in a cake form, be very careful with it, okay? Just trying to warn you in advance. So, that's my take on the pan pastel. I did do those 3 cards. Where are they now? There we go. These are the cards that I ended up with using the backgrounds that I created with pan pastel. So this has just a blended background. This one, you saw me making this. Well, when I die cut this image, what I did was I went back and the top layer, I only partially die cut along this edge and left this piece intact so that I could attach it to the card. So you can see that there's some dimension here because I've got this piece of silver in behind it. Okay? And then this one, I actually used Pan Pastel through a Tim Holtz stencil. And this is a shimmer paper that comes from, I'll tell you in my blog post because I can't think of it right now. It's a place out of Wisconsin, and the gal does a wonderful job. But you can see I created the background colors for this, and then I used the wood grain stencil and applied the gray onto that shimmer paper. So that's it for now, guys. Talk again soon. Bye.